Hi, Mike. How are you?
I'm swell. How you doing, Bob?
I am good. I am very excited. I'm actually very excited. We have a fantastic guest with us tonight. Katie Cook is going to be here. She's already here, so we're going to get to her as soon as we can. I'm very excited. And along with that, we are booked. Like we are, people better get ready and used to seeing us because we have for the next 5 weeks we have guests lined up and we have people coming after that. So we will be here. Pop Culture Squad Live will be here every Tuesday night, 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. You can always watch us on our YouTube and Facebook channels later if you want to come back. If you missed part of it, that's always an option. And you are suffering from no snow in Connecticut.
Well, we didn't get much. I have no idea what the rest of the state got, but we're up on this big old hill, and which I decided to do when after Jack C. Harris bought his house on a big old hill in New Jersey many years ago, and
Mhm.
the rest of the town flooded, but he didn't. And I thought, oh, that's smart. So I'm on top of this big old hill, and we got very little snow, 2, 3 inches maybe. I mean, that's what it felt like. Um, we didn't really have to shovel. I know Adrian cleared a little bit of snow off of something or other, probably her car. But you know how it goes. I mean, for the last 2, 3 days, they were saying, "Oh no, the world is coming to an end. Don't worry about Trump. Worry about the weather." Well, that's the same thing in my book. So,
Yeah,
this weather thing didn't really become a problem,
good. I'm glad
which
about
is
that.
fine. Yes, me too.
All right. Bunch of stuff has happened that I want to talk about. Um, the Super Bowl happened. Um,
Hmm.
it's over. The world can now
And
hopefully
and
stop.
and they should clean up Kansas City before you get there.
Yeah, that's. I have. Listen, I'm going to be in Kansas City. God willing, there's uh, there's a budget. I'll explain later, but some people who know may figure out there's a need for government to have a budget. But but yeah, I'll be in Kansas
Oh
City.
yes.
Hopefully it'll be set up by then. They're having their party or whatever it is. One of the interesting things, and I want your opinion on this because it is pop culture related. One of the interesting things about actually the most egregious problem with the 5 hours of Super Bowl was a 30-second ad that was paid for by a super PAC for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. running for president. I know you haven't
Yes.
seen it, but I'd like your opinions
No. Well, I
regardless.
I and I've seen little flickers of it on the news.
Sure.
Um, well, I have to explain that I bring a prejudice to the table, which is
Yeah,
that I
please
think
do.
the man is bug fuck dangerous. He's killing people. He's ad, what he's advocating is going to kill more people, and why he thinks being president is going to help in any of that, I don't know. I think the guy is just trading off of his name, and now so more than ever.
I agree. I thought it was the biggest what the fuck moment from the past. I can't even remember how long. I was like, where is this coming from? It
I mean,
was
I
it
know he
was
didn't.
absolutely crazy.
I know he didn't approve it, but and he couldn't
Well, that's
really
not.
be
I That's
involved
a
in it
bunch
in
of
any
baloney,
way. Well, it's a pack thing, so
right?
maybe
Bill's got it right.
uh,
He apologized
Bill's
for
got
it
it
and then
right.
pinned it to his socials.
Yeah, yeah. In the apology, in that very apology, he pinned it, and
Yeah,
okay, I don't mean this. Okay, this is not does not represent my feelings towards my own family, who hates him now, and I don't think they were all. happy with him beforehand. Now, it's
Right.
not that he has to toe the line. He's entitled to his opinion.
Sure.
But he's a lunatic and dangerous, and he's killing the people. So the phrase self-defense comes to my mind. I'm really pissed. Yeah, I'm
All
really
right.
pissed. I don't think he's going to do any damage.
No, I don't think so either. For all the ridiculousness of it, I don't think he's actually a threat. But I also didn't think that the Orange Menace was actually a threat either.
No, and we didn't think that Ralph Nader was going to be a threat. And Ralph actually did some good things for this country. Running for president was not one of them.
Right. You've seen the Deadpool and Wolverine trailer?
I most certainly did, yes.
And your opinions?
Every little comic book fanboy nerve in my body is electrified for this movie. If it sucks, I'm going to burn down the theater. That's how much I'm
afraid it's going to suck.
Well,
I'm afraid it's going to suck. Like
that can happen.
I don't think we know anything about this movie.
No,
I don't believe one bit of promotion or press that we see. What we see in the trailers may never show up in the film. Like this, that's my opinion of how much Ryan Reynolds wants to fuck with people.
That may be. That may very well be. They've got a lot riding on this because it is the only Marvel Studios movie of this year. The last couple didn't do so well, although they did fine. And this thing that Sony has out, this Madam Web thing, has gotten some of the worst reviews I have read in my life. Reviews. Yeah. Terrible. And I'm willing to believe them.
Well, they've never...
If it's not animated, I'm not interested in their stuff.
Yeah. I'm excited for the movie. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But I don't want to know any more about it. I don't want to know. I just want to go in and see it. I don't need to see another trailer. I don't need them to make another trailer because people are going to go see this movie. It's going to be a hit because people are going to...
I hope so. And I think so. But, it doesn't star three women, one of whom is black and another one is Muslim. So,
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
That part of the audience who just hates the whole idea of women superheroes, let alone black superheroes, let alone Muslims at all, we don't have to worry about them.
Well, they're going to go, is what you're saying.
They'll go if they want to go. They can all get hit by a truck, as far as I'm concerned. The same truck.
That's fair. Deadpool will be driving it. Let's talk about some news, some comic book related news. We're going to get to the news, but tomorrow is New Comic Book Day, and there's a couple of books that I want to highlight that are coming out that we have on the site right now. If you go to popculturesquad.com, the new number ones column is up for today. It tells you all the books, all the new issues that are coming out this week. This is coming. This is the collection, the volume 2 of Blacksmith, and I want to make a point of telling people who haven't seen it or haven't tried it. I love this story, and I don't know if you've gotten around to reading it, but I know you got volume 1. Mm-hmm. It is written by Eric Palicki with art by Wendell Cavalcanti. The covers are by Liana Kangas. I think it's super smart. It's something that I think Ahoy should continue doing because it is something that they don't necessarily have. It's not necessarily comedy. It's not superhero-y, but it's smart and it's got a little bit of a dark side to it that's a little more serious. I love it a lot. Anyway,
Well, those
that's
are comments, except for maybe the darkness part. Those are comments that you can make about Ahoy in general. I
sure.
am absolutely predisposed to read it, at the very least, the first issue of anything they publish, because their head's in
Right.
the right place and they know good storytelling. Just that
I
simple.
agree. I agree. And this is a great book. I am going to. I don't know if you know this is coming out tomorrow, but it is something.
Uh oh. Yes, I am aware of it. I love
They
the cover
changed the
because
X for a C.
I'm a big J.C. Leyendecker fan. So if you're ripping him off and doing the whole Saturday Evening Post motif and then putting Penthouse on it, I'm thinking like, okay, that's weird. Let's check this out. They've
Right.
tried this before, Penthouse.
Well, so this is so I didn't know this was coming. So I did a little stuff. It is the guys who founded Behemoth Comics who were behind this. And yeah, Robert's. I'm surprised brand still exists. Yeah, I didn't know. They've partnered with the name Penthouse Global Licensing. It's got nothing. So the people who the guys who started Behemoth, which became Sumerian, which is now partnered with Massive Publishing, those comics, which is all the same. They're all the same. Those guys went and partnered with Penthouse Global Marketing or licensing to get the name, and they're making adult comics, that come out tomorrow in a magazine size, 96 pages, every other twice 6 times a year. Starts out now. It's got Gilliam March in it. The covers are amazing. I'm gonna pull it out because we don't need people freaking out when they come in. But I am excited about it. I think it's good. Not for. So I did used to read, the cartoons, and the comics when I would read Penthouse magazine back in the day before it became Penthouse, before they threw it all into Penthouse Comics. Did you know this? You'll love. Do you know that when they originally, when George Caragane, who is the person who founded Penthouse Comics with an X,
Mm-hmm.
He originally wanted to do Thunder Agents.
Yes.
Did you know that?
Yeah, I was aware of that. Everybody wanted to do Thunder Agents.
Well,
The bad
want
news
to
is everybody did do Thunder Agents.
Nobody's done it well.
No, nobody understood what it started out to be. And now I'm not saying that you should just duplicate what happened in the 60s. For one thing, the people who did it are no longer with us.
Right.
However, I bought that off the racks. I was totally unaware that this was coming out. Not a word of it. And because we didn't have the fan press or anything like that, we had a few fanzines, not terribly well wired in. So when I saw this thick comic book, superhero comic, full of artwork by people I love and respect then and now, my little brain just exploded.
Sure.
So it's at a high standard for me, and it's very hard for almost anybody to walk into that. But it was about a bunch of related characters, each having their own definition, their own art style, who could and would get together in sort of Justice Society like fashion I'm going to talk about the 40s here, to wrap it all up. And that was exciting at that time. It was like one long story chopped up into several not necessarily related stories. Tricky. I liked it a lot.
I did too. Well, anyway, he did not get to do Thunder Agents. He got Penthouse Comics. And Penthouse Comics returns to the stands tomorrow on Valentine's Day, which I find humorous. And we'll see it so Gilliam March is about Robert asked if Gilliam March was doing the art or drawing or posing. He is drawing a story. There's covers by Vanessa Del Rey. There's next issue has covers by Tula Lote. So pretty soon we're going to get a Katie Cook cover on Penthouse Comics, which I think will be awesome.
Ah, cool.
That is completely not true. I'm making that up. She's gonna like leave us now.
Oh no.
Anyway,
no.
That's
I have no idea what the content is like. I can infer the content.
I'm assuming it seems to be sci-fi, the horror thrilly in terms of the storylines that I've seen. So that type of stuff, but probably just with less clothes. I think that
and G cups.
Well,
G cup large.
Gilliam March. If you're not familiar with Gilliam March's book, Carmen is devastatingly beautiful. It is filled with nude woman most of the time. Absolutely beautiful. He's a master, and when you see him doing Batman stuff, it doesn't do his talent justice at all. Like, this is what he should be doing. The next piece of news I know you're excited about, and I know you've seen it. DC and Marvel, or somebody has announced that we are going to do collections of the DC Marvel crossovers.
2 omnibuses.
You saw that, right? That news?
I did.
2 omnibuses.
In fact, I've already teased Walt Simonson about it.
I saw that you teasing Walt Simonson about it. He had posted one of the pages from the greatest single comic book ever. But did you were there when this came out, right? You were at DC when this came out?
When the first one, I was there shortly thereafter. This was one of the last projects with Carmine's name on it, and it was Jeanette who'd hired me. So
right.
it was right afterwards.
Okay. But were you? There were other things that happened in terms of crossing over and talking Marvel and DC together when you were there the first time. Is that right? Did you have any interaction with that?
No, because the second time I went to DC, I mean, the first time was in the 70s right after this thing came out.
Right.
But the second time, whomever was running Marvel at that time, and my boss, Dick Giordano, were not pleased with each other. And everything between Marvel and DC stopped. And, sort of, they kind of patched things up a little bit. I think that was after Dick had left. I could be totally wrong about that because my memory sucks. I thought they had overdone it, quite frankly. It wasn't special anymore. They had a lot of crossovers. Some of the stories were great. I don't want to, I'm not talking about the quality of the books, just the frequency. It's like, okay, Marvel and DC's crossing over again. Okay, fine. Yeah, if Little Lulu's involved, that would be different. But otherwise, no. Now people are just going to start thinking about the movies. And that may happen.
That is not happening.
I'll tell you the circumstance under which that can happen. Disney streaming and Discovery streaming and every other streaming service is pretty much coughing up blood in the corner. They have no idea how to hold on to their subscribers, which they're not doing a very good job of, and yet cutting back the amount of new product in order to justify the monthly subscription fees. So it's a matter of not having your cake and eating it too. It's a matter of not having your cake or eating anything. Sooner or later, all of these services are going to combine into maybe 2 or 3, maybe 1. Maybe we'll have a whole different format altogether. But there's no doubt in my mind that Discovery will sell Warner's off, or at least DC off, but probably Warner Brothers. And since the antitrust laws don't seem to work anymore, my suspicion is that Disney will make a play for it because Ming the Merciless would. And that's why we might have those crossovers.
I understand that. I've heard a fan. I don't know if it's a fan rumor, but somebody was saying that that there's some theory out there that the sole reason that Bob Iger returned to Disney was to get it in shape so that they could sell it to Apple.
They have had plenty of opportunities to sell it to Apple and even to buy Apple. Now, I know that the concept frightens you, and
it does.
It doesn't please me, but it doesn't frighten me. I don't think that Apple has a clue or a desire to be in that end of the business. Steve Jobs sold Pixar.
Well, I hope not.
You know. Well, that's true. I mean, who knows who's going to be running it 6 months from now, let alone 6 years from now. So you just don't know. And Discovery is terrible at the product management business. Disney excels at it. They know how to manage their properties. They don't know how to develop them. So we'll see. I think it's right. A train wreck either way.
We are going to see.
I'm sorry?
Yes. I hope it's not. I hope it's not. I hope that there is a time that we can, just have good quality content coming out from these two content mills that is entertaining and not, stressful. Like, it's always so stressful. Like, is it going to be good? And then do people get upset about it? It is or it isn't, and then it's fine.
Well,
you know what's going to be good though? You're right. I mean, that's the point. Publishing is a losing cause. It's never gonna work.
Publishing is a terrible business. It never was a good business, but at least there was some opportunities to make it good. Today, that's pretty much gone. I mean, is Penthouse Comics going to be on the newsstands? The answer to that question is what newsstands? There are no newsstands, really.
Right.
There are. You and I talked about something.
You can find it,
We talked about something in texts.
We talked about something.
Well, I'm getting there. I made you my Pop Culture Squad column next week on this about how Barnes and Noble's is expanding again, which as a book reader I think is terrific. Mm-hmm. I know they're not going to have the DVDs and the CDs because nobody buys DVDs and CDs. We all rip it off the internet or pay for these streaming services. So I'm not terribly concerned about that. They will sell all the little tchotchkes that they're known for selling. I want to know whether they're going to devote as much space as they used to the newsstand parts of the magazine racks. And quite frankly, I don't even know if there are enough magazines to fill those racks anymore. I think it's like the radio drama.
There are, but they're not what we thought they were.
Yeah. Yes.
Absolutely. There are plenty of things that are not like they're all $15, picture magazines anymore. So there's plenty of that. The question is, are there things that are, periodicals the way we grew up having magazines? And I don't know. I would love to see that too.
I love magazines. I was at the supermarket yesterday preparing for the snow that didn't come, and they had their little magazine rack. And I used to be, that would be like the first place I'd go whenever I'd walk into anything that sold magazines and comics. I'd go gawk at that stuff. It's been years since I ever went out of my way. And by out of my way, I mean the aisle over to look at that, because there's no reason to. There's no reason to. I grew up with Mad Magazine. It was a major influence on my life. I'm I'm happy to say that I have friends amongst the Mad men and women, but mostly men, and that's great. But there's no way in the world that could have that type of an impact today. It's just not there.
Robert made a good point there too. All right, you know what though? When you go to the bookstore on March 5th, you're going to go because you're going to want to buy nothing special. Just, I don't know, maybe a book by somebody. I don't know, maybe a book by somebody named Katie Cook, because we're going to bring her in right now. Hi, Katie. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi, Katie. It's great to meet you.
It's so nice to virtually meet you.
But first, I have to compliment Bob on his best segue ever. That was perfectly designed. That was great, Bob.
Yeah, well, I thought so. Well, I've tried. First of all,
I built a terrible review directly into my new title, just in case.
First of all, how are you feeling?
What do
you? I don't know.
Lovely.
Yeah, I mean, you're welcome to share whatever you want. Let people know what's going on with you.
Yeah, well, it's basically I am used to being a very mobile person. Back in November, basically it started in late October of last year, which sounds like it was 5 million years ago, but it wasn't. It was a couple months ago. I started having issues like getting up out of a chair and standing. And all of a sudden, one day, I couldn't walk anymore. So I have been in a wheelchair since then. And I spent 25 days in the hospital. Turns out I have a bunch of nerve damage in my legs, and I broke some toes during one of my falls. Yeah. So I'm in a wheelchair right now while I relearn how to walk. It's interesting.
There are plenty of people supporting.
I use a cane now. I can barely stand. Of course, I'm about 4 times your age, but it was all the result of falls, most of which I have taken in Baltimore. So I blame it all on Bob. The big fall happened at Times Square, which is a great place to take a fall.
Oh, I'm sure. Considering I'm going to be at Emerald City at the end of the month. So I'm traveling in a wheelchair.
See, I don't fly. I really don't fly anymore because of that. I live in Connecticut, so it's a pain in the ass to get to any airport anyway, and then they treat you like shit, and I don't want to pay big bucks to be treated like shit with my clothes on. And it's okay. I don't have to go to San Diego. I mean, I like San Diego, but it's a clusterfuck. There's just way too many humans. And the same thing is true in New York.
Yeah.
The New York Comic-Con is the convention center, the Javits Center, was built for about, I don't know, audiences in double digits. So conventions now, I go to Baltimore, I go to a few smaller shows here and there. But my whole life has been one long unending convention. So look at the bright side. You have an excuse.
Well, it's and I'm there to promote the new book, and I might be going to now Mocha like less than
Oh,
2 weeks later. Um,
Wow.
so we'll see. It'll keep me busy as well as I'm learning how to travel in a new way.
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
hopefully
Well,
it's not forever, but the only
do
thing
you
that could
feel
get me to
better?
stand right now. I do. I feel
Do you
great.
feel like
It might be all the
you're
medication
making
I'm on.
progress?
Yes. Did you see there's a link on my Instagram and everything. I'm in basically like old school polio braces on my legs, and that's the only way I can walk around with a
I
walker.
saw that.
I'm getting fit for a custom
Well,
pair of those babies.
All right.
I know.
All right.
I
Do they incorporate artificial intelligence?
They do not. But they're nice carbon fiber ones that are cast to my
Oh,
leg.
that's cool.
And thank God, I married a man with insurance because as a cartoonist going through all this, it's like, put it on my tab, sir,
Right.
as
Yeah.
opposed to set me up a GoFundMe post haste. So,
right. That's fantastic. I'm glad that's the case at least.
yeah, especially
When
when they start pulling out
when
like,
New
oh,
York
we are
happened,
ordering you
I
a
was
custom wheelchair and we're ordering you these leg braces. And it's like, excuse me, this is not
Right.
Macy's.
You have a wonderful
wow,
attitude about it.
imagine if
Yeah.
And that goes a long way.
Well,
Not
it's the
necessarily to
end.
healing, but to coping.
The end of 2023 was already so riddled with like, this is the worst moment of my life, that this was just the icing on the cake. And it was
Oh,
like,
geez.
I cannot feel any worse than this, so I may as well just look at the bright side.
Don't ever say that again. Don't ever say, I can never feel worse than this, because the cosmos will collapse and prove you wrong.
Well, that's like in Michigan, you can't put your snowblower away until you're damn sure there's no more snow coming. Because the second we go put ours out in the pole barn, it's going to snow at least another 5 inches.
Absolutely. Put it away in July just for the fun of watching it snow in August.
Well, this is Michigan. It could happen.
It could happen. I love Michigan. I really do. I have a lot of friends there. My family, part of my family, well, I have no family really. They live there. I get out there as often as I can. But when I do, I drive because of the leg thing.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Like I said, I
so
have
I
a
would
fancy
like
wheelchair and all the things. So
Yeah. Do they charge you extra for flying with a
so
wheelchair?
mm-mm. Nope, you can't. It's ADA.
Right.
So
Right. Huh.
so I want to talk about nothing special.
yay!
You
I
wrote
can't
that
believe
down.
it's 3 weeks. Are you excited? It's only 3 weeks. People are going to get this whole thing.
Yeah. I have some advanced copies right here.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's, as many licensed materials as I've worked on, spending so many years writing My Little Pony and, working for Star Wars, doing stuff for Marvel, doing stuff for Disney, and all of these other products. Nothing Special was my baby project. It was a chance for me to write and draw something for me. Especially I was really known for My Little Pony, but I was the writer of My Little Pony. I'm known for Star Wars, but I'm almost always exclusively the artist on those books. And, Webtoon approached me when they started doing like their bigger US launch. And they were trying to bring on American creators, not just translated comics. Sorry. And they approached me and said, "We want you to make any comic that you want to make."
Uh-oh.
And ta-da! And this is just the first volume. It's over 400 pages.
Holy crap. 400
Book,
pages?
yeah, book 2 is going to be 2 almost 400-page books. And then book 3 is very likely going to be split across 3 almost 400-page books. And I've written and drawn all of that in the past 7 years. And, you know, I had a different book agent, and then Seth Fishman approached me a while back, and he's been trying to get me to sign with him for a while. And within just a couple of weeks of me having him show Nothing Special around with a PDF I made years ago. Oh, again, sorry. My gabapentin makes me sleepy. You know, my PDF was called "Please Make My Thing Your Thing." And it was why publishers should pick up Nothing Special. And 10 Speed Press, who's a division of Penguin Random House, picked it up for kind of their boutique line of stuff that they're doing. They're doing a lot of comics now, so ta-da!
That's great. And in the aggregate, you're talking
I'm very excited.
Like 2,000 pages, maybe?
Yeah.
Wow.
Gird your bookshelves.
What are you gonna? Yeah, really. What are you gonna do when it's all over?
I don't know. Write
Sleep.
another one.
Sleep. Good for you. Good for you.
I've already told the editor that I'm working with kind of an idea that I had for another series, and they were very intrigued. But, you know, like I said, this is 7 years of my life trying to prove that I too can draw and write something more than ponies or kids comics and whatnot. That this is how my brain works. So.
That's great. It's really important that eventually you get a chance to show the world who the real person is. And in comics, that's always been very hard. It's only been the last couple generations where there's even the opportunity. So good for you.
Yeah,
good
and you know, I've always been known as a really clean-lined, simple cartoonist, and I think I'm finally proving that doesn't mean that the art is simple. You know, it's just lovely, beautiful line art. It's what I love. I'm not like a crazy crosshatcher or anything, but you know, I'm out to prove that I know what I'm doing. So I'm not just the person that presents the award at Baltimore that everybody laughs at.
Well, I think that's spectacular. I'm sorry, Bob. Go ahead, please.
Well, no, I was just saying, and I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm fading out and stuff here, but I apologize for that. But I was gonna say, you know, you do make funny things at Baltimore, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I've loved this story since the very beginning. I want to I want to give a little bit of a shout out to Tom Akel for being the one
Tom's amazing.
Who said, "Hey, let's do this.
Make anything
and
you
giving
want."
You this shot.
The dad in the book is named after him, Tom.
So I wanted to talk about how, obviously, you had this idea. I'm most concerned about Radish. So how early did you know that Radish would be a major character in the story?
Right away. You know, a lot of the concept art that I have, which is actually in the back of this book as kind of a special edition. Radish is always there in a variation. even in the earliest of stuff. And there
Mm.
he is now. Because I wanted someone who was kind of the anti Disney animal sidekick. Uh, he's not helpful. He is a
Okay.
little overzealous in his beliefs.
He's hilarious.
And yeah, so he's usually very grumpy. And that's the whole point of him, is that, he is my conscience during while I work on this, script wise and art wise, because he often has, weird little lines in the background that's hand drawn. And that's my commentary. So it's my
Well,
way of
I,
sticking something else in the book.
you have this marvelously fluid style, which people think of when you talk about yourself, when people talk about themselves as cartoonists, as
Hmm.
opposed to comic book artists or what have you. That's always bothered me. The fact that we define things so narrowly.
Hmm.
Your stuff just leaps off the page, and people who think that's just cartoony, dismiss it as being cartoony. They don't understand the medium. They need to work on their appreciation of the medium. They
Yeah,
need to look at guys like Jack Cole and to Will Eisner. My God.
yeah, it's a weird thing that, I've really had to work against and then lean into. One of the first portfolio reviews that I did, Wizard World Chicago, long, long time ago. And it was, the guy looked at my stuff. He's like, "You're going to do great in kids licensing." And he wasn't wrong, but he really implied that there wasn't really a point of going after anything else. Which there's been this huge shift in comics, since then, of indie publishers, of people being able to go and put their own stuff out. I gave a keynote speech at the Ringos before COVID that was about, people kind of taking back the art form by becoming independent artists
Yes.
online. And that's kind of what I did. I took an idea that I'd been tooling with for a while, because I love comics that work on a lot of levels. I don't want something to just be a kid's comic. I don't want something to just be an adult comic. I believe in all ages.
Right.
My 9-year-old loved reading this book, when I gave them the advanced copy to look at. And, I love reading this book, or I have fans of the series that are in their 40s and 50s, because they understood that MASH reference. It's for everyone. So there's lots of different layers, for people to enjoy.
We had defined ourselves so narrowly. And when we got the chance, after decades of independent publishing,
Mm-hmm.
doing the best they could, to expand our vision, there have been plenty of writers and artists out there, of cartoonists out there, to take advantage of that. And if you don't take advantage of something when the iron is hot, it ain't going to work later. So it's really critical that this sort of stuff comes out. It's the same. You made the same decisions that today that musicians make, that authors make. Do I self-publish? Do I self-record? How do I handle all of this? Who do I partner up with on the business side? Working that out, that's not what you went to school for. So
Mm-hmm.
good for you.
Yeah, and I have, like I said, I have a BFA in illustration, and they never taught you the business aspect of anything.
No.
So I'm really lucky that, I watched my parents a lot growing up, with my dad, having been an engineer. He was very business savvy. And then my mom, who had been a middle school history teacher to middle school administration when she was the vice principal of a middle school, and then going into administration, just very focused. So I grew up with a lot of very left-brained people, and one that made me a freak, being like the artist. But it also showed me that these are how these you can function on other levels. I don't have to just be a hippie going, oh, it's all love and sunshine, that's how I'm going to pay my mortgage, man. It's I learned to discipline myself and get my work done. So
They don't teach you the business end.
no.
And that's primarily because they don't understand the business end, because the business end keeps on changing. I've always had a foot in both camps. But that business foot was out of survival. You don't have a choice. You learn or you don't publish. So again, I admire you.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I do as well, and I'm one of those 40, 50-year-old people who love this book. I want to talk a little bit about the story, and I want to talk about some other things, but I do want to talk about the story, and I want to talk about Callie and who she is, and how this relationship between these two main characters has been received, and how you have dealt with it. Like this, you threw every gender norm trope on its head and said, I don't care, and this is the story I'm telling. She's fierce, and she is the hero of the story. And what has that? Why did you do that? I mean, the answer is probably quick and easy, but and what has been the reaction, and how has that affected you?
Callie is, in a sense, an unromanticized version of the manic pixie dream girl.
Okay.
She is loud. She knows what she likes, but she's also kind of lawful, neutral, towing the line of, hey, what's that thing? Let's poke it.
She's lawful chaos.
Yeah. And, she is ready to not be part of the normal world immediately. She's like, she is checked out. And then, Declan comes along, and Declan is the demure, I hate to say it, the fairy.
Well, he is a fairy. He's
'cause
literally
he's
a fairy, Mike.
He's got little pink wings. And he takes over, what the typical role of the girl is in the comic, the one who's pining, the one who is in awe of this complete weirdo because he is completely blinded by the fact that he has been watching her from afar since they were 6 years old. And he is the romantic one while she forgets things. He knows how to calm her down, and it's never mentioned specifically why she's in a bad mood, but I think any teenage girl is going to know. And he's like, I need to go get 5 eclairs, 2 wedges of this manchego cheese, and some crackers, and then we need to leave. Like throw it through the door and be gone. And then Lasser comes along, and Lasser for the first book is introduced in the typical way that they introduce the second male in a love triangle in any YA book or anything like that, and she immediately hits him and pulls a knife on him,
right?
Because she's not having any of it. He's trying to be very romantic and sassy with her, and she, like I said, literally pulls a knife on him, and he's like, no, this is not happening. And then he joins along, and in the second book, Lasser becomes a better person by learning through English romance novels.
Yes, we love that.
And that's how he's learning how to be an actual person, and it does not always work out for him in that series. His character now, so. And the body pillow. The body pillow is always there, always present.
Okay, now that you've got me hooked, when is the second one coming out?
The second book will come out in October.
Really?
Yeah, I literally have files open for it in front of me. The cover is done and approved, thank God. And then, yeah, I'm just cleaning up files because Nate rearranges everything from the web format into a print format.
Mm-hmm.
And I go through and I doodle extra stuff in the margins. Let me see. There's some stuff in the back that I think is handled really well. I'm on my phone, so.
That's okay. We can see it. Okay, I get it. Yeah. Well, it was one of the biggest things that I know.
Yeah.
I know when you were making it and the book and the story was coming out on webtoon.
Yeah.
It was interesting because I remember listening to the iFanboy interview with you with Josh Flanagan, and at that point you said the book will never be printed because there's no way.
Not my problem.
How did you get around some of the things like the 70-inch panel?
Did you know that if you're picked up by a larger publishing house like Penguin Random House, they will pay somebody else to do it?
That's the key.
So I actually had them take on Nate, who is the letterer of the comic, and he helps me format it for the web anyway. And he is the only person besides me that has touched every single upload of Nothing Special. Like, he knows it inside and out like I do. So yeah, he's been the one reformatting everything and redoing the text so it's not huge.
Cool.
And then, like I said, I go in and I'm adding little background touches to the gutters. Going very Sergio Aragonis with it, of little gags and fun stuff that's hidden in it.
So I'm very excited that it's coming out later this year because it was about a year ago when I asked you if you were going to be at C2E2 because I wanted to have you on a panel, and you're like, the book deadline is coming and I'm not going to be able. So that was a year ago and it's finally coming out.
Yeah.
What I wanted to ask, what I wanted to have you on the panel for was it was a world building panel, and it's one of the reasons I wanted you on there is because of the way that you have designed this world, the way that you have built this. It's what I always found interesting is that every time we get to the end of a leg in this journey, I'm like, well, where do we go from here? And then you have this answer, and we go there, and it's completely reasonable that that's what's next. But like, I marvel at how well you are able to transition the story to completely different plot points and events and stuff like that. How far ahead typically are you long term in what you're writing versus what you're actually doing right now?
I have kind of a box that is like, this is the sandbox. This is how things in that world work. And here are things that I've mentioned, like in passing, that I could go back to, like Lasser being, so far down the line in his demon princely inheritance that he doesn't even bother with it. And then that's what book 3 is all about, is, his dad calling him home, and you get to meet a bunch of his family. And I'm finishing up drawing that right now. So everybody's gonna like Lasser's mom. She's great.
Is that a threat?
No. Well, you're gonna like her. Because we definitely don't like his dad. So yeah, it's, right now it's exploring who the main people are, because I think overall, Nothing Special, some people would label it just a YA fantasy story. It's a character story. And a lot of what it is these people interacting with each other. And in some ways, the main 3 have this really healthy friendship codependency between the three of them, because I don't like teen comics and stuff that labels itself as YA, where the main relationship between the characters is so toxic.
Right.
Because I don't want to glorify that in any way, shape, or form.
No, I want my
Ever.
kids to have friends like
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, so I'm showing not only a healthy romantic relationship between two of them, but somebody who used to be seen as this giant jerk in the first book, and how he's incorporated and how they make him a better person, is kind of what book 3 is about. Whereas we learn Declan's story all through book 2. So ultimately, the last book, which will be what they call the season, the 4th season, is what happens to wrap up their story in that world, before I probably hop on to another part of that world to tell a story.
That's awesome. That is
So,
awesome.
so you have an agenda in that
Mm-hmm.
you want to show your readers, whomever they may be, certain things
Mm-hmm.
that you think that they might be overlooking or be underserved. For example, how do you do a mature grown-up relationship?
Mm-hmm.
How does that evolve? Everything evolves. Nobody's
Mm-hmm.
the same as they were 20 years ago. That's interesting.
And it's important to me for someone that's younger, especially I have a 13-year-old, I have a 10-year-old, to see what good relationships can look like, at their age.
Right.
Like I said, there's so much out there where it's like the main couple in it is like, will they or won't they? Or this is my boyfriend, but I'm in love with him. Or, Hunger Games, like, well, I need to kiss PETA to appease this, but now I think I'm in love with him, but I'm also in love with this other boy, who's a rebel trying to save. I don't want any of that. I didn't want any of that. I just want them to see something and say, that's what I want with
That's
my
what you
friendship
did.
or with my relationship. Callie and her dad have a really healthy relationship, and it's really, they talk and they understand each other, which I think is important. Well, they still butt heads, because I'm not trying to make it all fancy and, every relationship is perfect. And then the introduction of Tansy in the second book, knowing Tom, the dad, is, like a moment where we realize our parents do have a life that we don't know about. And
Sure.
as you get older, you're privy to more and more of that life. So Callie is watching, her dad, enter a relationship now that, they murdered her mother in the first book.
It's all right. It's okay. She
It's
needed it.
okay. It's okay.
She deserved it.
So yeah, like I said, it's a lot of it is a character study of how do these people interact, which I learned a lot of writing for My Little Pony when there are 6 goddamn main characters that always have to talk to each other.
But you're doing more than that.
Every time. I know.
You're showing people who you are too in doing all that. You're, to a certain extent, you're exposing yourself.
Oh yeah.
And certainly emotionally, just because it's your worldview that you think is important to pass on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure it is. Every worldview is, with some massive exceptions. Are you concerned that people will misunderstand who you are?
A lot of the web readers already do, because they assume that I am also a teenager. Because I write teens well.
Right.
And then it's like, hi, I'm a 42-year-old lady. I have a mortgage and children who are your age.
Yeah, the phrase "I have a mortgage" just changes reality.
Yeah.
You're not the same person.
It's like, maybe if I didn't have all that going on, I would be like, Hey, kids, let's go to the YouTubes and make a TikTok.
That's right. That's right.
I can't do it. I just can't.
I wanted to talk a little bit about your. We talked about some of the things you've done, but how did you get to this point? I know you grew up a nerd.
Oh yeah.
Nothing wrong with that, of course. But was there a turning point moment when you realized that you were going to be making comic stories for your profession? Like when you said, I need to do this. I want to do this.
There is, and like if you have kids, you know it, the kindergarten picture that every kindergartner takes. It's like, when I grow up, I want to be
Yep.
and they have a chalkboard.
Yep.
Mine, when I was 5, I said I want to be a cartoonist.
Really?
Because I wanted to be Charles Schultz. I wanted to be Bill Watterson.
Mhm.
You know, I spent every morning growing up, you know, my parents would wake me up while they got ready for work, and I was a latchkey kid. So, you know, we'd sit there and we'd have a bowl of cereal or make a piece of toast, and then I would read the newspaper, like just the comics section of the Detroit Free Press. You know, while someone else went to go watch TV and all that other stuff. And that was my daily kind of routine. Was I waited for my parents to take us to latchkey, you know, at the kitchen table while I read the comics section. And, you know, I would draw them, I would make up my own little gags, you know, for different characters. And that's what I wanted to do. You know, I've never had a plan to do anything else with my life.
You and I have a similar background in that. I learned how to read at a ridiculously precocious age because of the newspaper comic strips. And that's what got me. I don't know where all the political stuff I do came in, but that's what got me into comics. So, you know, growing up with that visual storytelling, it puts it in your blood. It makes you. It becomes part of you.
Yeah.
And I love that because we live in such a visual society.
And, you know, it's a part of what drove me to do what I do now, because the only comics that I really had available to me for a long time, you know, they had Batman, Spider-Man, and whatnot on the spinner racks at, it was like Borders and Walden Books, you know, Ann Arbor, Michigan being where Borders was founded. We had like 4 of them to pick from, as well as the flagship store downtown. And, you know, what I always went for was Archie, you know, because that was funny and I could get the gags without having read like the 30 issues before that, or without my brother like mocking me that I didn't know what the hell was going on with Batman. But, you know, so that's what I had. And it wasn't until a store opened up in Ann Arbor across the street from the downtown flagship Borders store called WYSIWYG. And it was an anime and manga store that was on the 2nd floor above an apothecary, which was just a fancy way of saying the pharmacist in rich people speak in Ann Arbor. But that is where I discovered all of this stuff that was branded towards teen girls, like Sailor Moon, like Fruits Basket, and all of this other stuff. This was before a lot of bookstores actually started carrying manga, the English releases on their shelf. So I went here, and if you've ever seen photos of my office, it is just a book haven. It is like almost every like animation art book you can think of, comics everywhere, other art of books like fashion design and cars and race, like all this crap, and then my manga, which I'm very, you know, inspired by, delighted by, and also love some of the stupid things as well. Like I have stuff that I think is just a great story, and then I have something called, oh my God, it's called Merman in My Bathtub. I need to have all 7 volumes of it. I don't even need to look at it right away. I'm buying this specifically for the name and how ridiculous this sounds. I scour Facebook Marketplace. I just bought 26 volumes. Another series.
Mermaid in My Bathtub.
No, this one is called Snow White with the Red Hair. And
Ooh.
some student in Ann Arbor did not know what he had, and he was getting rid of it for $1 a book. So
Oh, and you fleeced him.
I did. Yeah.
What are there inspirations for you in your work in terms of artists or writers or teachers that have
As far as
influenced you?
writing, I basically, I'm surprised I don't have a poster up in my office that says, "What would Neil Gaiman do?"
I do.
'Cause, yeah.
It's the 8 rules of writing. It's right up there.
Oh, up and there's something right there. Oh, yeah. Okay. They're asking me if they can have ramen. There's a note and everything.
Excellent. Hi, Harper.
Yeah, that's my Harper.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, there's plenty of, authors that I love. I read a lot. I listen to audiobooks a lot and everything like that. But as far as artists go, I think that looking at my work, I can pick out little bits and pieces of different artists that have inspired me along the way, as well as the stuff that I think is all mine. It's like how I draw pupils on people is lifted like from Dr. Seuss. Like that's how he draws them on things, or how I handle like a little line every now and then. I'm like, I'm gonna do a Charles Schultz line here. Do. Gonna make it scribbly. And there you go. That's from one of my drawing teachers in college. You always need to make noises while you draw, and his favorite was chicka 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 chicka, and mine is do 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 do.
Is that something that hits you that you just like, oh, I'm doing that thing?
Yep, all the time.
So when's the soundtrack?
No one needs that. If my cat comes by, I spend it like talking to my cat or making up a song about the cat. And there are 5 cats, so there's lots of songs.
I was gonna say, you say that like there is a cat.
Well, the one that's over there right now is Coco is sitting in a basket of yarn, being the most stereotypical goddamn thing you've ever seen a cat do. It's like, oh, you're in a box and it's full of yarn. You're trying to get something out of me.
Exactly.
Cats are magic. They're you can't explain cats.
No. And like I said, we've got 5 right now. I had a weak moment. We lost the cat that I had had for 22 years back in August. And then I was like, all right, we'll just deal with 4 cats. We'll just have 4 cats. I don't need another cat. And then a friend of mine from when I had a studio job was like, I just found a cat in my garage. Who wants it? And I was like, I have 5 cats again. I have 5 cats again. And that one is hard won. Its name is Zero. And normally I can get a cat to come to me right away. I am the master of pss, 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 pss. But this cat is very hard won. And it likes my husband more than me. So
that's interesting.
I'm not really happy right now. Because it's a really cute cat. And it's soft. So it's like you want to touch it. And then it's like, no, you can't touch me. Like I've been denied access at a like really exclusive club. It's starting to really affect my self-esteem.
I can get my cats. We have 2, but we had 3 for a while. One was getting very old. We wanted him to pass along what he knew to the newest one. But I can get them to laugh at any point in time. And I mean like Grateful Dead bear laugh, just by going pss, 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 because they think I do it so badly, it's hilarious.
I'll agree.
Yep. Yeah, mine is I just look at Zero, and I picked out the name and everything. It's from Zero the Lobby Boy, Grand Budapest
They're
Hotel. But
not.
yeah, it's like they won't
How
come
dare
near
they?
me, and it's very hurtful. And I keep trying to remind them who pays the vet bills around here, and I get nothing. Because it's such a cute cat. Oh my God. And it's like, you are friend shaped. Come here, be friend. It's like, I just want to touch it.
Do you crib from the cats in your work?
Oh yeah, all the time. My first webcomic, Gronk, had my first cat in it, the one that I lost back in August. 100%. It was, and I just renamed her Kitty for the comic. I was like, Kitty, because that's what she was. And then I put my cats in everything. Every single major license has my cats in it. Star Wars has my cats in it. My Little Pony has my cats in it. Nothing Special has my cats in it. My husband owns a ukulele store in Nothing Special.
He does.
Really?
Yeah,
He does.
it's his dream.
It is.
To own a ukulele store?
Well, that's what it feels like in my living room. Actually, I don't know if that's his actual dream, but we certainly have a lot of them.
If he could, I don't think he would turn it down.
Well, he does love his job at U of M, and it does keep us rolling in wheelchairs. Haha, rolling in wheelchairs, and insulin around here. So
That's also important.
he kind of has to stay.
I lived near one of the great ukulele players of our time.
Oh,
It just so happens Jethro Burns, who played with like Steve Goodman after he and Homer stopped working together. Phenomenal sense of humor, and he was such a funny guy that sometimes you just freeze and gawk at how brilliant a ukulele player he was.
That had better be
crap.
really damn impressive for me to just stop in my tracks and say, that is an impressive ukulele player. Oh my God. That's because that's not a sentence that a lot of people have said.
No, it's actually the first time I've said it. But if you're working with Steve Goodman, it probably fits in perfectly. That was wonderful. That was wonderful. First Comics was actually closer to his house than I was, so that was fun. Bob has no idea where to go from there.
No, I have. Listen, I am prepared, but
I know you are.
We're gonna do the new thing, Katie. So we started last week with we're gonna come up with a question of the day. We have a question of the day every week.
Okay.
We have something new, and everybody's got to answer. So, and they're going to be nerdy questions. So this week's question of the day is: what is the first movie that you remember going to? We'll let Mike go first because his is older.
And I'm more likely to die before I get it out.
That's right.
Probably the first one I recall was a movie called Tom Thumb, and I was brought to it because Tom Thumb sounded like a movie you could bring your 4-year-old to or something.
Sure.
And they did. They schlepped me to the neighborhood movie theater, and I was so bored I fell asleep.
There you go.
However,
you remember doing that?
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember being bored. I can put myself back into that tedium frame of mind just thinking about it.
Okay.
How about you, Katie?
God, I'm going to. I think it might be The Great Mouse Detective. That would have been mid-'80s, right?
Yeah.
It was either that or Oliver.
Oliver
I
or
don't
Oliver and
know.
Company?
Oliver and Company.
Right.
No, because Who Framed Roger Rabbit would have been before that.
That was later. That was like 88.
Was it? 88. I'm talking maybe I think it was Great Mouse Detective or maybe Who Framed
We'll go
Roger
with Great
Rabbit.
Mouse Detective. I think we're
Yeah.
gonna. That's good. That's good. I
Yeah, because
think
I was born in the early 80s, so mine
yeah.
was not Tom Thumb. Um,
No,
No,
no.
I
I almost went for like Buster Keaton.
no.
You
That's
know?
and if anybody wants to comment who's watching, feel free. You can join the
yeah,
game.
I don't know. Here, I'm gonna ask one that goes with it. What is your worst movie memory?
Oh, this is
Okay,
going to be
we're gonna come.
wildly unpopular. My worst movie memory.
I want to hear it. Go ahead.
Star Wars 3.
Return of the Jedi, or the
No,
Return of
3
the Jedi.
meaning 6 or whatever it is.
Right.
But
Return of the Jedi.
the third Star Wars movie
And why?
was a major disappointment because I loved the second movie, but it was half. They left you with a cliffhanger and they blew off the resolution of the cliffhanger so fast in the third movie that I thought I was watching an old 1930s movie serial. That's how fast it was. And then after that, it became a Muppet movie with really ugly Muppets. And I was pissed.
Oh,
And so many of us, First Comics actually closed down for the afternoon to see this movie. And we all piled into my car and we drove 100 miles away to a movie theater. And all of us except one, we had 7 people in my car, not a good idea. One loved it, and the 6 of us hated it. And I thought that poor guy was going to wind up killing somebody because we were making so much fun of that movie.
you
What
should
was your worst experience?
tattoo a tear right here for the murder you just committed.
I know. It was such a
Uh,
disappointment. Shows you how much I love the first 2.
well, I love the first 2 and I like that one. But
I
no,
know. I
mine
understand.
mine was somebody took me to Requiem for a Dream as a first date.
Oh wow!
Could have thought that one out better.
That was
Oh
not
yeah.
a good idea.
It was bad.
It wasn't Ryan, was it?
It was not.
Okay, good.
Our first date was The Incredibles.
Well, that's
And
good.
then I married him.
Well, the first woman I ever took out, who was really a girl, to a movie. We went to see From Russia with Love. Now, yeah, okay, you can carbon date me, but it was a phenomenal experience. I don't know, I was like 14 years old or something like that. My father drove us. And it was a wonderful experience, but it didn't really inure to the development of the relationship. Because as it turns out, she was an Orthodox Jew who now lives in the West Bank. After like 60 years, I discovered that piece of information. So the
I
whole
like the
body.
idea of you going back and stalking like her Facebook profile after many,
I
many
think
years.
I think there was like a mutual high school friend, and she was copied on it or something, and that's how it. Yeah, I didn't stalk her, and I haven't really made contact with her, but
Well,
she's
we do
living
have something.
in a really dangerous part of Earth right now.
Yeah. Well, you and I have something in common. My first date was also a James Bond movie.
Which one?
It was A View to a Kill.
Ah,
That was Sherry and my first date. My wife and I went on our first date when we were 13 to see A View to a Kill. It was her
that's
choice.
wonderful.
At 13, you guys have been together since you were 13?
No.
Oh.
We went on a date when we were 13,
And then she was like, "Nah,
and then we
no,
went back
not
to
this."
Hebrew school, and she's like, "Yeah, that guy Bobby, he's boring." And
Oh
so,
no.
and then we moved apart, and when we were 40, we got back together.
That's why you grew the
Well, there you
mustache.
go.
But worst experience. I don't have bad experiences in movies. I it is very, very hard for me to not like a movie or be entertained. It's only recently that I've found myself just bitterly upset at films. Aquaman was one of those. Actually, the second Aquaman more than the
Well,
first.
you're allowed to be bitterly upset about that.
The first
I
one
haven't,
was
I haven't
was
seen it.
not entertaining. Was somewhat roller coastery entertainment. The second one was ridiculous from the jump. And then when we finished and people were around me like, "Oh, it was pretty good," I'm like, "That was not good. That was
No.
not good."
Can I tell you a story about watching a bad movie with comic book people?
Okay. Oh wait, hold on. Is this a movie that most people could go see, or is this a different kind of movie?
You could go see it if you're so
Okay.
inclined.
Okay.
I don't
all right.
recommend it. And despite the fact that I have friends involved in making that movie, good friends. We all, the comic community in Fairfield County, Connecticut, which used to be the cartoonist capital of the planet or maybe the solar system, we waited till the last showing on the last evening of The Spirit.
Oh god.
Now, I worked with Will Eisner. I've worked with Frank Miller. Michael Uslan and I have been friends since the year Gimmel. But we all waited till the very end, and we were the only ones in the movie theater, which made it great.
Did you know what you were getting into?
Yes. Well, we had a good idea.
Okay.
You always hope. You always hope. Nobody goes to a movie to have a bad. Well, that's not true. But most people don't go to a movie to have a bad time. So you're hoping against hope. Nonetheless, we went to the last showing on the last evening, and we had the theater all to ourselves, so we could gibber all we wanted.
So who was in your
and crack
crew?
each other up?
Mike Robb?
Oh, yeah, definitely Mike. Absolutely. And Rick Myers, who was an editor at Atlas Seaboard and writes an enormous amount of fiction. And I think Jerry Ordway was there, I think. And I'm blocking on who actually made it to that one. But if not for the fact that we had the theater all to ourselves, we would have been really pissed off. We would have probably burnt down the concession stand. So it was good that we were the only ones there. Horrible movie.
It is a horrible movie. It is.
Yeah. It's not good.
It's just disappointing. I read much of Harlan Ellison's screenplay that was done like 30 years beforehand or something. And that was brilliant. But they didn't make that. They made this. Phooey.
Yeah. It wasn't good. I didn't know. So it was in a time when I was not doing a lot of going to movie theaters when it came out. So it was within the last 10 years that I ran across it. And I was at home. Thankfully, I could just turn it off, which I did. Thankfully, I didn't go pay money to go see that. Sorry, Frank.
Yeah, I mean, I've never discussed it with Frank, and Frank and Walter Simonson and Howard Chaykin, and usually sort of a rotating fourth person, had a studio together in New York when we were doing American Flag, and I'd go out there to hang out with Howard. And Frank and I would sit on the couch there and start gibbering about Zatoichi movies, which nobody else in the room had ever heard of. And they were used to Frank being all excited about Japanese movies, and particularly action movies. So we bonded over Zatoichi, and we're both in comics, and we both worship Will Eisner. And yes, Dean is right, because Dean was there. Not at this particular moment necessarily, but Dean was working with Howard. And everybody else just looked at us like, I don't know, they're talking a whole different language. We bonded over that. And I hate going to a movie that was made by friends of mine and not being able to just gush over it, because they're your friends. Yeah.
Sure.
That
Dina,
just,
why don't you tell us what your favorite movie was? The first movie that you remember going to. You can chime in. But I think the first movie that I remember going to the theater. I know that I had probably been to a drive-in or two before that, but in the theater, I think it was E.T. that I remember.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I
didn't go.
We
didn't go to a lot of movies when I was a kid. It wasn't a thing. Like my kids go to movies all. But I remember E.T. I remember Empire Strikes Back in the theater, and I remember Temple of Doom. I didn't see Raiders in the theater. So
I saw E.T. with Joe and Hillary Staten, and when we walked out of the theater, I was kind of happy with the movie. It wasn't a great movie, but it was a good movie. It was very well made. Joe hated it.
Really?
And then he explained why in detail, maybe too much detail, just how manipulated we all were. Which is true. I agreed with every word he said. So I kind of retroactively started to dislike the movie. Oh, you're right. Jeez. Yeah, that sucked. Jeez.
Go watch a movie with a storyteller. There you go.
That's it. Yeah. Well, no, it's the worst thing in the world. Never go see a movie or watch a TV show with an editor, with an experienced editor. Don't do it. My daughter hates that. She doesn't pay attention anyway to me, so that's fine. Dean's was Jaws. That explains so much. That really does. That explains so much. Yeah.
My mother has never seen Jaws, which is crazy, right? But the thing is,
does she hate fun?
She loves the ocean.
Is she a survivor of the USS Indianapolis and it gives her like flashbacks? Or
no, she we grew up on the shore. We grew up in the Jersey Shore. She grew up there. She loves the ocean, and so she never wanted to see a shark attack movie where she would make people afraid to go into the ocean. The ironic part is that the story that Peter Benchley used to base Jaws off of is a story that happened like 10 miles from where my mom used to be in the ocean. Because it's from a bull shark attack in Manasquan, New Jersey, which is that was the original idea, that where he got the concept of putting together the movie Jaws.
Gotcha.
Huh.
But yeah,
I had a similar experience with Psycho, but it was kind of a retroactive thing. I saw it in the movie theaters. My sister took me. She was babysitting me. I was like 7 or something. That's great movie. Great movie to take a little kid to.
Right.
And as I grew up, I learned all about Ed Gein.
Oh.
Because he was from Wisconsin, which was just a few miles north of me,
right?
And Ed Gein was sort of a hero. Well, no, that's not right, but a celebrity of sorts.
He is a celebrity.
A celebrity,
notorious.
And then many years later, Kim Howard Johnson, the comic book critic and bon vivant, played Ed Gein in an improv play that Del Close directed. and he had a singing number and everything. And I have no idea why I'm telling you that story.
It has
other
something
than
to do
the
with
fact that
Psycho.
it was so goddamn weird.
Well,
We once took a whole bunch of comics people during a Chicago Comic-Con to see that play, and Julie Schwartz wet himself. According to Mike Rell, who was sitting next to him, so I believe it. He was laughing so hard at that scene of Kim doing Ed Gein singing a boy's best friend is his mother. That Julie wet himself. You don't hear that on every podcast.
no, that's why we keep you here. Aren't you glad you're here, Katie?
Oh yeah.
All right. We do these things where you end up, giving people's, bodily functions out, and then we're like, where do we go from here? What does Dean have to say? You do 20 pages of Billy Doggo meets Ed Gein.
Oh,
Nice.
the early years.
Nice.
The early years. Okay, I like that.
All right. So let's come back to Nothing Special for a little bit. Real
Yay.
quick. March 5th.
Yes.
People can get the book, right?
Yes.
You are going to be at Emerald City.
Yep. And
Which is the week
people
before?
there can have an early copy. Yeah, it's a few days before.
Mhm.
And you can get an early copy there. And then the actual release date in town, I'll be at Vault of Midnight in Ann Arbor.
Oh wow.
For a book thing. And then if you don't want to drive into Ann Arbor, I'm going to be at an event at a bookstore in the town that I live in, just north of Ann Arbor, to Dandelions in Brighton, Michigan. And then probably Mocha mid-March. All in my wheelchair.
Mocha is I love Mocha. I stopped going when my leg and the whole left side of my body went bluey because it was being held in a vertical venue.
Mhm.
Everything was on like 4 or 5 different floors, including the ceiling, the roof, which was very nice, very pleasant. I love the energy in that room at Mocha. I love seeing all of these. Well, to me, they're youngsters getting involved in comics and not carrying the baggage of the superhero world. I have no problem with superheroes. I've made my living off of that, or at least part of my living off of that, and I enjoy every minute of it. I like heroic fantasy, but there's so much more to comics, which Katie knows. And that is wonderful, because in America, where we sort of kind of invented the form, it's all superheroes, it's all capes, and nothing else. And there's so much more to the medium.
Yeah.
Well,
so I get depressed a little times.
I love this story since I first read it.
Thank you.
It is the thing of yours that I've read the most of. But
there's a lot of it.
I love it. There's that, but it's something. There's something very empowering, and I am not someone of any demographic that needs additional power. But there is something very empowering about the characters, and it's something that I feel comes from you, through you, and it's very emblematic. Even I put on the bottom, if anybody doesn't know where Katie is or how to find her on any social media, she's at Katie Can Draw, and that even your handle is that Katie can draw. Callie can win. Callie's going to do what Callie wants to do, and she's not going to let anybody tell her no. Yeah. She's going to go do it. And that's the thing about it, is that there's this character, this who is, by all intents and purposes, and for what everybody would expect her to be, the opposite of who she is. And it's not that it's bad what she could have been or what people would expect of her. It's that that's just not her.
Yeah, and I really made a point of she's not good at
No.
schoolwork, because, you know, the trope of the leading lady is always like, oh, I'm a perfect little princess. I get great grades, do. Whereas Declan is reminding her, is like, don't you have like a test? And she's like, of life, not at school. Like, her priorities are very different. And yeah, it's the difference of approach in your friends. Of, you all have one friend that if they're going to do a video game, they have to go read up about it first. They're like, okay, I'm going to watch this 2 hour long YouTube things of the 200 things you need to know before you start this game. And then there's the people that are like, nope, I'm in. It's like, I've already started the system. It's like, let's just jump in, not knowing anything about it, and do the thing. And that's what Callie is. Callie is I don't need the instructions. I don't need this. I liken her to when we went on our honeymoon. We went to Vancouver and then Whistler.
Me
and
too.
I went, yeah, there you go. And then
Vancouver.
I went bungee jumping in Whistler. And, you know, there were all of these people that are like psyching themselves up, like at the thing to jump off of, you know, this platform between two mountains that leads into this giant gorge with a running river below it. And, you know, me, the second they had me buckled in and they're like, okay, you're ready to go, and you're supposed to walk up to the platform, I just ran and went. I just jumped off of it. And my husband said that the guy that was doing the equipment was like, wow, she really couldn't wait to get away from you. But, you know, there's an approach that different people have. And I think the fact that I touch on the tropes of like how different people handle these kind of situations so people can relate to it. You know, there's a genuine affection for these characters because they are not perfect people. They, you know, are someone that could be in your friends group, whether you're 15 or 50. So
That's awesome. It is, you know, I highly recommend it. It's if you know, please pick it up, get ready for
the love
some
of God,
amazing
please pick it
stories.
up.
Yes.
For the love of God. For the love of all
Well,
things
you know,
holy.
make sure you have, you know, proper bend with your knees, you know, when you actually do pick it up.
Yeah. I can't go back to like my COVID, like depressed Red Dead Redemption 2 self. So I need to make more books. So please buy the books.
Absolutely. We're very excited. Thank you so much for being here. I don't want to keep you any longer. You've put up with us long enough.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for doing it. We're happy to have you, and you know, you can come back when the next one's about to come out. We can talk about that volume 2 and what's going on. You're absolutely welcome at any time.
All right,
Thank you so much.
Maybe we'll get together next time I'm in Michigan. Is there a Slo's barbecue near you?
Yeah, it's
wait,
in
hold
Detroit.
on. I'm sorry. One thing we talked about it beforehand. And we're talking about Michigan. I need the story. What is the food that we were talking about before the show started?
Fraggles.
What is a Fraggle?
Katie?
They are a fresh bagel, like half piece that is dumped in cinnamon and sugar while everything is still like boiling hot. So it's not a donut. It's the bagel. So you get that crunchy exterior and the chewiness of the bagel, and then nothing but like cinnamon, brown sugar, white sugar, all in this oily bite that tastes like a carnival in your hand.
Absolutely. Very good.
Very confused.
I'm still digesting the one I had in 1970, but it was wonderful.
Yes.
I'm very confused. I don't
Listen,
know.
we have a lot of months where we don't leave the house here because it's cold and snowing, so you got to entertain yourself some way.
Right.
That's how you get
I will
Fraggles.
take your word for it. I will have to try that at some point. All right. Thank you so much, Katie. Again, Nothing Special comes out March 5th at
Yep.
bookstores and comic shops.
Yep, you can
And
pre-order it now.
make sure you pre-order it. There's also ways you can get it online and have it shipped to you. Plenty of ways to do that. So it'll be available through Amazon, I'm sure, that day
It
or
is.
immediately after. So
Yep,
I'm sure you could order it right now from Amazon.
you can.
you should.
And then Jeff will drive it over to your house personally.
He will. All right. Thank you so much, Katie.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Have a great
Katie.
night.
You too. That was great.
That was great. We, as I said early on, are chock full of guests coming up next week. We have the wonderful Mark Russell is going to be on the show next week. So there will be discussions of Mars, Batman, many other things.
Well, Mars is such a phenomenal series, but I understand that Mark is doing like a vampire thing at Marvel.
Yes, he did
Hawkeye.
Blade and is it Hawkeye and Blade?
I don't know. That's all I know about it.
I know he did some Blade stuff. I haven't done all the research yet, but there will be plenty to talk about with Mark. And and I'm looking forward to that. And the other thing that I want to remind everybody about is go ahead and go to popculturesquad.com and go to click on the sign up for the newsletter, and you will get a link to this podcast so that you can come back and see it if you don't know where it is. Also, anything we have on Pop Culture Squad, you'll get links about what's going on. I try to be a little bit keeping people up to date on what's going on in the world. And it's really the best way to make sure that you don't miss anything with Pop Culture Squad. It's a weekly newsletter that we get, and if you just sign up on Pop Culture Squad, you'll get it. There's 2 links that you can find real simple.
But if they don't know where the video SquadCast is, how are they hearing you?
Listen,
yeah.
The logic I already realized my logic mistake, and I just went past it. This is the whole thing. I don't need my editor to point out all of the.
We can't
I'm
stop
editing you these days.
That's true, and you're doing a good job. So it's as an accomplished editor, I can tell you that.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here, and we will see you next time. See you later.
Thanks, folks.
This has been a production of the Pop Culture Squad Network. PopCultureSquad.com.